clearly everybody, how y'all doing? I'm not here today, so I have to do this by this little device, my little flip camera, which you are now looking at, and Professor Kirkwood has access for you. Today we're going to look at two things. First of all, an aspect of communication called the refutational-different defense, also known as inoculation theory. And then we're going to look at the concept of motivation and relevance, which is going back a little bit earlier in terms of where we started at the beginning of talking about persuasion. But the first thing I want to talk about is the refutational-different defense inoculation theory. That means in your study guide, you need to go to page 65 in your study guide, and at the top of it, it'll say refutational-different defense. You'll see what is a refutational-different defense, why is it important to understand a refutational-different defense in your speech, and what are the keys to a good refutational-different defense. But where you need to be is on page 65 of your study guide, and we're going to first of all look at what is a refutational-different defense. Now, what it says up here is refutational-different defense / inoculation theory. And what a refutational-different defense does is, it says it's addressing the negative aspects of your point of view. Addressing the negative aspects of your point of view that the listener may know or already hear in the future. Now, I'll let you write a little bit, and then I'll say it again because hopefully you can read this well, but I'll just want to reinforce this. But it is addressing negative aspects of your point of view. So, for example, my particular speech on putting cameras in intersections to stop or catch red light runners. One of the negative points of view, or one thing that somebody may know or find out later, is the fact that, first of all, the cameras may cost money. Is it worth that cost? The other thing is, for example, and I really didn't address this in my speech, but I probably should have, studies have shown that when cameras are initially put in intersections, that the number of accidents actually goes up. But I'll explain to you why I would put that out there, why to explain it. So addressing negative aspects of your point of view that the listener may already know or hear in the future. The second aspect of it is it's a means to enable your listener to resist future attacks on your message. And I'll say that again. It's a means to enable the listener to resist future attacks on your message. Now, one of the reasons why I may bring up something negative about my point of view is that there's no real positive, not everything is totally positive. If I give my speech, if I never address the negatives, a few days later, maybe a week later, or 2 weeks later, I'm not around anymore. And therefore, somebody may encounter somebody who says something negative about my point of view. They may say, well, yeah, cameras in intersection are all well and good, but didn't I hear once that actually when cameras are put in that the number of accidents actually goes up? Now, if somebody hears that and I'm no longer there to refute it, how does that make me look? And I'm not there to defend myself. So, if I said in my speech, yes, when cameras are put in intersections, accidents actually go up. However, if you look at it statistically, what happens is the number of rear-end collisions goes up. And the reason why that happens is when the cameras are first put in, people are nervous, they overreact, they break a lot sooner than they normally would. As a result, there are more rear-end collisions. And that's not a good thing, because who wants to get their tail light replaced or their bumper replaced or things like that? However, rear-end collisions are the most survivable type of collisions there are. It may not be good for your insurance bill, or it may not be good for your convenience, but you're more likely to survive it. On the other hand, the most dangerous types of collisions are T-bone or side impact collisions. And when cameras are put in intersections, those accidents actually go down. So let me explain to you how this works. So, addressing the negative aspects of my point of view that somebody may already know or hear in the future. So what I say is, we need cameras in intersections, and we need them as soon as possible. Now, one of my arguments might be, now there is clearly some evidence that the cameras aren't perfect. That when they're put in intersections, actually the number of accidents goes up. And that's not a good thing. And nobody particularly likes that. However, if you look at it statistically, the accidents goes up are the rear end collisions. That's where your bumper is damaged and you lose your taillights and things like that. But those things can be fixed, and they are the most survivable type accidents. On the other hand, when cameras are put in an intersection, the number of side impact collisions goes way down. Those are the ones where people are more likely to be killed or seriously injured. Your insurance will always buy you, or can buy you, a new bumper or new taillights. But if you're paralyzed in an accident and a side impact collision, no insurance money in the world is going to return your ability to walk. So yes, the cameras aren't perfect in terms of accidents, but in terms of the number of accidents where people are seriously injured or killed, that goes way down. The reason why I do that is where it says a means to enable the listener to resist future attacks on your message. Is that if I don't talk about that, if somebody then mentions later, let's say you're talking to somebody and they say, I just heard a speech about why cameras are a good thing, and they reduce the number of accidents. The person who listens to you says, well, that's all well and good, but what I've heard is actually the number of accidents goes way up. So isn't that counterproductive? But because you have taught your audience, remember, the heart of a good persuasive speech is a good informative speech. Because you have taught your audience the fact that the differences between rear-end collisions and side impact collisions, and that red light cameras in intersections reduce the number of side impact collisions, they can always say, or you can say, yes, I know, yeah, accidents goes up. However, if you look at the ratio of rear-end collision to side impact collisions, actually the cameras help out a lot, because the number of accidents where people are killed or serious injury actually go down. That's why it's called inoculation theory. When you go to the doctor and get a tetanus shot, what they do is they give you some tetanus in your arm. And that's why your arm hurts, because tetanus attacks the muscles. When you step on a rusty nail and tetanus then goes into your system, because you've had that shot, your body then can fight it. It's an inoculation. The reason why this is called inoculation theory is when I address the negative aspect of my point of view that they may hear in the future, where it says down here, a means to enable the listeners to resist future attacks. That's what I mean by inoculation theory. You've prepared your audience for a counter-argument.